We have a wealth of exciting new information about the upcoming Assetto Corsa Evo. Information that is pleasing, but above all, information that comes from extremely official channels. Marco Massaruto from the studio developing Assetto Evo revealed several new elements about the game throughout this week. In today's video, I present a summary of all the recent updates and information we have learned over the past few days. Regarding the upcoming Assetto, releasing on January 16, 2025 in early access. We already have a first good news regarding the open world for players who are precisely looking for a little bit of RP, a little bit of realism. Well, know that on Assetto Corsa in the open world, which we remind you should do, in total, 1,600 square kilometers covering the surroundings of the famous Nürburgring circuit. You will have the opportunity to fill up your car, but also to recharge your electric cars, and who knows, maybe also rechargeable hybrids. We lack details about this system, including whether in-game credits will be required for payment. We don't know if the durations will be realistic, if we will have the choice, like in other games, between different types of fuel for our car. But it's a more realistic mechanic, which will please players who are waiting for this kind of game mechanic. It's a small detail, but it can be important depending on the type of player you are. Well, now, a big piece of news anyway, is that Assetto Corsa Evo, which, we remind you, will be released in early access. January 16th, 2025 should reach its final version, so it's version 1.0, only a few months later, normally in the fall. Massaruto said this in response to another question, which is also news within the news. The question of the presence of the police in this open world was asked to him. And here is what he answered. He said it would be a good idea that obviously they also had on their side, that it's something we could see happening in the future of the game. The police chases are already causing chaos, but there's an option to disable them based on the player's preference. It adds another level of realism, and it's something that's a little bit missing from modern games. He said it would be something we wouldn't see in the 1.0 version of the game in fall 2025, so we understood that. The early access of Assetto Evo is planned to last only 8 to 9 months. It's very short, given everything that's announced about the game. It's reassuring, as some games stay in early access for years, even up to 6 years. We know plenty of such games. What we also know is that, month after month, update after update, new content will be added to the game. And that Assetto Evo should include about 100 cars by the time version 1.0 arrives. Among these 100 cars, there will be road cars, prototypes, race cars, vintage cars, and classics. That 4 to 5 major updates were planned to specifically improve this early access. And that each time a major new update arrives, new tracks and new cars will be added to the game. He aims to reassure the community. Only 20% of the cars in the game will be race cars. The rest will be road cars. This, I believe, will somewhat reassure both Assetto camps. It reassures fans of Assetto competition who want to compete intensely with race cars. It also reassures those who appreciate having more diverse content in their game, and take cars to the track that are, basically, road cars. Same in terms of circuit. There are quite a few that are already confirmed, and we have already covered them in other videos. I invite you to watch my other videos to learn about the official content of Assetto Evo. But what we know is that there will normally be 15 licensed circuits at the release of the version. And that's still pretty cool, there will be a free downloadable content containing 5 new circuits, which will be presented and offered to players a few months after the release of the version. A 0 point. And that Massaruto plans to add cars and circuits to the game on a very long-term basis. We can imagine various scenarios for the long term, whether it's 3, 5, or 10 years from now. The future timeline is uncertain. In any case, it's true that Assetto 1 had a relatively long follow-up, but Assetto 1 mainly had lots of modes. So, now, what you also need to know, and it might be bad news for some. Rest assured, a solution exists. Assetto Evo will not offer multiplayer at release. Not at least from the 16th of January. 2025. You will have to wait a little bit. Massaruto said that it might be the second or third major update, so maybe around June or July, around that time. To see the multiplayer deploy on Assetto Evo. So obviously you will be able to do multi-races on a whole bunch of circuits. But that was also specified. You can also participate in the open world, located in the Nürburgring region, in multi-mode, and explore it with friends. That's great news. It seems logical, even if unexpected. I'd also like to take this chance to put an end to a rumor. There are some who have gotten a little carried away all by themselves and who have seen the word Eiffel pass by. And who thought, wow, that means that after the NERB, they will model the Paris region and the Eiffel Tower. No, guys, actually, it's just that in Germany, the region where the NERB is, it's the region that's called Eiffel. And it's not pronounced the same way, by the way. So it has nothing to do with the Eiffel Tower. And so for now, there is no Paris that is planned on Assetto Evo. So we won't have multiplayer at the beginning. We will have a game that will be focused on solo, with a career mode that will contain quick racing, a practice mode as well, which will simply allow you to train on this or that circuit. With a mode, we can assume time or lap. There will also be the Driving Academy, which will be a license system similar to Gran Turismo. You will have to succeed in obtaining certain licenses to drive specific cars and have access to certain categories of cars. Mercedes-Benz Auto states that during the early access of Assetto Evo, users can complete 4 to 5 different licenses. Everything you do solo in Assetto Evo will allow you to earn in-game credits. That's a novelty we already knew about for a few weeks. You can purchase and customize cars, as well as buy various items using in-game credits. We don't really have any information on the price of the cars, nor on what such and such event will bring us. What we just know is that the developers reserve the right, and it seems normal to adapt what players will earn as the game progresses. According to the so-called meta, this money, as you've understood, you can use it to buy cars. So, if I understood correctly, there will be a system for buying used cars, since each car will have its history and value, and there will therefore be a system for reselling them. So, I don't know if this only concerns the in-game resale or to other players, a bit like an auction room. The advice is that we will of course also be able to spend this money to improve our cars. This feature will not be available until the final version of Assetto Evo. We will be able to buy different types of people, different types of tires, different exhausts, different spoilers. We will also be able to customize the car with its real purchase options. So if, for example, a manufacturer offers a car with several different types of rims, you will be able to choose from these rims. We will be able to customize the car's interior based on official finishes, selecting materials, colors, and making modifications. So that's things we already knew more or less. It had been a little bit teased, but it had never been detailed, and above all, it had been dropped. They've decided to discuss the game in more detail now, as it may have been overlooked due to the abundance of news surrounding it at the time. Another important point to clarify is that the open world feature will function the same way as before, without any changes. 1,600 square kilometers, which I remind you once again will be the surroundings of the NERB, will not happen from the release of the game. Completely. What you need to understand is that in fact, as updates progress, the map will expand. New neighborhoods will be added to reach 1,600 square kilometers, but the statement is incomplete. But one day, expect a smaller map than what we currently have. Additionally, there's another aspect about this open world that may not have been known before this week. It's that there will indeed also be areas dedicated to off-road. If you want to do some four-wheeling or cross-country driving, it's the same. I'm waiting to see this myself, because while Assetto is very strong at making gripped asphalt physics, they've never really done off-road physics. And if you test on Assetto 1 thanks to mods, open-world off-road driving isn't always super pleasant. There are a few interesting updates. Many things have been announced. We discussed this briefly during my stream yesterday, but indeed, if Kuno Simulator manages to do everything they've promised, with a relatively small team nonetheless, they lack the budget of Sony for Gran Turismo or Turn 10 for Ford Motorsport. If they manage to do everything that's been announced correctly, debugged, and make it enjoyable for the players, the big AAA studios are really going to have to pull their fingers out. With no more excuses, there will be no reason not to offer RP features players have requested for 15 years, which are still absent. Games costing $5,200 million will have no excuse for delivering maps that are either 40 SQ clean or 2,000 SQ cleaners with PS2 level detail. If Assetto Evo keeps its promises, it's really a game changer, and it's really, let's say, a huge step forward. And it will be, let's say, a kind of standard that most games will have to reach to play in the big leagues. So, very, very eager to see what it will turn out to be. The good news is that it's just a few days away. In 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be on it. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts on this news in the comments. If there are good things for you, or if you are a little bit disappointed, don't hesitate, of course, if you liked the video, to leave a little like and to subscribe for the next videos. Don't forget to support my channel for free through the links. For instance, follow me on Twitch for upcoming lives. To discuss this or other games, feel free to follow. Also, consider using your Prime to support the channel. On my end, I'm cutting here. I'll see you very soon for a new video. Happy gaming to all. Ciao.